A Protect Your Money Introduction. I start off talking about what's really going on with money, namely these unjust things. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS.org, created in 1930, has appointed itself as the central bank of central banks. Nobody has any authority over them at their buildings in Basel, Switzerland. Almost nobody understands international money or banking enough to challenge them as charlatans. Almost everybody is scared of them. Some people think they're a small group of Machiavellian, Satan-worshipping evil despots trying to rule the world by this system they created, where they create money out of nothing then lend it to all the governments and people of the world. If you don't believe me, study the works of Ronald Bernard, a former Dutch international banker, and John Wayne Todd aka Lance Collins, a former Satanist, now deceased, who wrote about Satanist bankers secretly ruling the world in the 1970s. My beef is that we, as human beings, can manage ourselves much better than letting a small group of bankers create money out of nothing, lend it to almost all the governments of the world except for Cuba, Iran, and North Korea. Then we, the people, have to pay taxes to help the governments pay off this fictitious debt that was created by borrowing money from banks who made it appear without working for it. Go to usdebtclock.org and see that the US government supposedly owes $35 trillion to their private central bank called the Federal Reserve, which is not federal as in not being a part of the US government, and it has no reserves as in gold or something tangible backing or representing the money they print out of thin air. It creates money whenever it needs it. Then we, the people, are supposed to be the suckers paying taxes so our government can pay them back this debt, which is money they created out of nothing. The human race can do better than this in the way we live and manage ourselves. Slavery has not changed. It has just been disguised. Now it's money slavery. You have to earn money then pay a bunch of it in taxes. On top of that, there's debt slavery, paying compound interest on the money you borrow from banks that created it of thin air. I believe that we can set up societies where people work for money but don't pay any in taxes. Governments, as sovereign nations, would have the ability to create money when they need it to stimulate the economy and help the people. The trick right now is what they call inflation. If governments and banks put too much money out into the economy, its value becomes diminished. We have inflation. The way to avoid it is simple: don't be greedy. Have philosopher kings running your governments, people who don't need money or care about all that much, such that they don't become greedy and selfish, but that's a pipe dream. Human beings are hooked on pride, greed, gluttony, lust, laziness, anger, and jealousy, which are Dante Alighieri's 7 deadly sins from the Divine Comedy. The real solution is for the United Nations to force birth control on humanity until our population is below 1 billion. Then there will be enough resources for all the people on planet Earth, but for now, it's everybody for themselves. Get your money, save it, try to protect it from the government and other vultures trying to get it by any means possible. I think the latest scam is cryptocurrency. How can anybody be so stupid as to invest in some random website that can disappear at any moment? Nobody is going to help you. The government can't keep up with the scams. There are so many of them. There was OneCoin in Europe, then there's Logan Paul, who supposedly lost a bunch of people's money in a crypto zoo scam, claiming that he didn't steal it, somebody else did. Now he walks around unashamed, acting like he's just a good old boy who's done nothing wrong. In Canada, CBC has a show called The Fifth Estate. On one of their episodes, some punky-looking kid ripped off a bunch of money, apologized, saying he was scammed. Now he's back in business acting like he did nothing wrong. I listen to the anarchists, freedom people, and cynics at vigilante.tv, renzuradio.com, and the YouTube channel Gerald Salent, who all know there is something seriously wrong with our governments and societies. I abide by the Bible's dictum of give to Caesar what's his and follow the rules to avoid trouble, but if you can quietly avoid the government trying to suck money out of you, I'm all for that. Every federal government in the world is a sovereign nation, meaning they should be able to create whatever money they need out of thin air for their projects to build their nations and help their people, but they don't. The world monetary system, controlled by private bankers, tells most governments you have to borrow money from either your privately owned central bank or the regular banks in your country. These banks create these loans out of nothing, put an electronic blip on a computer screen such that almost all the governments of the world owe them money at compound interest that these banks didn't work for. This is the massive scam we live under. On top of this, all commercial and investment banks everywhere create money out of thin air every time they make a loan through a process they call fractional reserve banking. This should be illegal in a capitalist world. They're the only business that gets to create free money for itself, which is not fair in a supposed free market economy. This is why everybody who pays income tax is a wage slave living in this world matrix. The world system is bad for the human race. This is not the best that we, humanity, can do for ourselves. We don't need to have governments borrowing money from banks who create it out of nothing then take taxes from us at all government levels, federal, state and local, to the point where we're downtrodden serfs working so other people can take money from our paychecks in lying schemes saying this is the way the system works if you want public services. The government has to pay its debts. I'm not here to talk about modern-day capitalist slavery right now. I'm talking about protecting the money that you earn and own. There are lots of people who don't want their governments sucking money out of them. Sometimes they're called tax avoiders, tax resistors, hippies, bohemians, and anarchists. I don't believe in the world system of money and taxation, so I have no problem protecting my money from the government. I live in the monetary world because I have to, but I have not sold my soul to it. The easiest way to protect yourself is don't own much, at least on paper where they can find it. If they think you're poor, they won't bother you much. People in the judicial system are a mixture of good to evil. Many courts are based on money. They've let plenty of drug dealers buy their way out of prison. Give them enough money and your charges go away. The first thing I was taught in economics class was the multiplier effect, the idea that putting money into people's hands causes a multiplier effect of 4.5 times because they spend the money, the person they give the money to spends it, and the multiplier effect goes on down the line. So following this line of reasoning, having an income tax is bad for any economy because it takes money away from people, which is the exact opposite of stimulating the economy. The vast majority of people pay income tax without ever questioning it. This book is not about how to invest money. I cover that in my money book. My purpose is to offer ideas on how to keep your money once you have it, so the government, the courts or burglars don't take it from you. This is also a creative guide on how to do business off the books, otherwise called the underground economy, or doing business under the table, so that you deal mostly in cash, don't report the money as income on any official ledger, and ultimately keep all the money you earn without paying a part of it out in taxes or lawsuit claims. I'm not telling you to be a loudmouth tax protester. People have done that already and ended up in jail. We live in dictatorships when it comes to threatening to disrupt the government or the banking system in any way at all. I cover tax dodgers and tax avoidance. I tell you to do it quietly. If you're a loudmouth anti-tax activist, they'll take your assets and send you to jail. They can file charges on anyone they want. The law can be interpreted any way they want to. Don't fall for the lie that cryptocurrency is the new decentralized money. In truth, it's just computer blips. There is no security for crypto money in crypto wallets. Plenty have been hacked already and the money stolen. Plenty of scammers are in the cryptocurrency business, getting people to invest in whatever scam they're hawking, then they disappear. Nobody can do anything to get their money back. It's not like the government-funded insurance programs that protect your bank accounts, usually up to $200,000. Some cryptocurrency scammers are so brazen that they come back with a new scam acting as if nothing has happened. It works because there are always new suckers coming onto the scene who have never heard of the scammer and his or previous scams. Most people are way too lazy to bother researching anybody they might give their money to in an investment. The YouTube channels CoffeeZilla, Kira TV, and others cover many cryptocurrency crimes. The absolute easiest way to hide money is to do it openly with several alternative identities that you can build by starting with a birth certificate of a dead baby, a blind person, a homeless person, etc. Go to the website edenpress.com, buy the book called The Paper Trip. Once you get a new identity after you search the microfilm at the library in the obituaries looking for a baby who died around the time you were born, you open up several bank accounts and hide your money in each of them. For people who live near the U.S. Canada border, figure out the rules for opening a bank account in the country that is not your home country. Open a bank account, your government will never find it. Money is the bottom line of freedom. Libertarians and others think it's wrong for the government to take it from us in the form of taxes. They say it's legal theft. The government supposedly takes it from the people who earn it to redistribute it for the common good. In truth, the few elitists at the top steal a bunch for themselves. I gave up a long time wondering why people were such pacified wage slaves who didn't bother to question how the system works and why they have to pay taxes to a sovereign nation that has the ability to create its own money, not borrow it. Anyway, all this money conspiracy aside, the government, people in the legal profession and criminals have the ability to take almost anyone's money if they want to. It's not a fair system. I provide ideas to hide your money. I'm about helping you keep a hold of your money in a world of evil and exploitation. The government wants money at every turn for taxes, yet the monetary system is a criminal enterprise. It's a massive crime against the people, and most of them are brainwashed enough to fall for it and live in this stupid matrix that sucks 40% of your earnings right off the top in income tax, not to mention more in sales tax, gasoline tax, etc. We're stuck in this wage slave system of taxes when in truth the government of a sovereign nation has the power to create its own money without borrowing it from anybody, therefore there is no need for income tax. The way I avoid government scrutiny is to live as a bohemian. I own no hard assets anyone can take away, like a house or a business. I have money in local bank accounts, a foreign account and PayPal, but there is not much movement in my money. I have cash. I live frugally. I live my life releasing my natural energy. That's it. I don't sweat over money or obsess over it. I have medical coverage because I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm not making big monetary movements in my bank accounts. My money sits there quietly. I avoid contact with the government as much as possible in order to avoid investigation. The law in most places is that if a person deposits or withdraws the equivalent of $10,000, the bank must file a form that goes to the government. Money laundering is the process of making money gotten from somewhere, usually illegal means, legal. People that live near casinos go to a casino, buy some chips, walk to the cash-out line, cash them out and get a receipt, then they can say they won the money. The usual way for criminals and people in cash businesses to go legal, just like the movie Godfather 3. You buy legitimate businesses and launder your dirty money through them. I saw some true crime show. The drug dealers hired some people to send up to 100 wire transfers every day through Western Union or MoneyGram to Colombia under $10,000 so it doesn't get reported to the government. Never talk or text illegal matter on the phone. The guys in the documentary American Pain had a bunch of cash hidden in their mother's attic. They blabbed it on the phone, the cops got it all. People underestimate burying money. Buy a rundown house in a rural area with 5 acres of land. Walk back 100 feet and bury it. People are so lazy they rarely walk 100 feet into the woods. I saw a case on CNBC's show American Greed where the cops convinced a computer hacker to give up his cash in exchange for a more lenient sentence. He took them to the back veranda at his mother's house where they dug up several $1 million in 5-gallon plastic buckets. The cops were skillful in manipulating one of the guys on the YouTube channel Matt Cox Inside True Crime to give up $12 million of buried money by constantly harassing him. They kept saying, "We believe you have more money." It was a bluff. They had nothing on him, but he was young and green. He wanted to get out of jail so bad that he gave up all his buried money. He ended up doing 18 months, which is nothing for a big-time drug dealer. The lesson is that you can pay people off to get out of trouble. Bribery still works. Cash talks. In the documentary Ibiza, Secrets of the Party Island, several of those drug dealers said they got off for many years by paying the cops off with cash. If you have a lot of money, the easiest way to hide it is to give it to worthy relatives. Buy property in their name in a private or then bury money. There are countries you can live in without paying taxes, but most people want to stay where they are. A big part is to get over materialism. Life is simply time. It's not what you own, like that stupid dream house they got you dreaming about. It's just wood, brick, and mortar. You might be part of the system and have responsibilities. You can stay in the system and keep most of the money you earn. You have to look like you're poor. If you're a doctor making $200,000 a year and live in cheap old house, they think you're a stupid guy who doesn't know how to manage his money, or you got some kind of bad habit that eats your money. I believe you're entitled to all your own money without paying any of it in taxes. Asset protection is not letting anyone you don't want take your money away from you, including the government. You could be sued, your house or work building could burn down. You could get a divorce and your spouse wants half of all your assets. Lawyers make money filing civil lawsuits. If you've got money, you're a target. Under our legal system, anybody can sue anybody else. Regardless of whether it's justifiable or not on face, you have to go through the trial and let the judge or jury decide. This wastes time and money even if it is a frivolous lawsuit, which is why many people settle up front. Some people, encouraged by unscrupulous lawyers, file lawsuits even though they know they're frivolous. They're banking on a quick out-of-court settlement or fantasizing that maybe this is the big one that will make them rich. Expect the possibility of being sued if you have lots of money and or run a business. It doesn't matter whether it's justified or not, expect it. It's part of the game of life in America. If you have insurance, your insurance company will manage the case. If you don't, you will have to hire a lawyer and fight it. This is why the more of your money you hide by giving it to relatives, burying it, depositing it in banks with alternative identification, or take it out of the country, the less anybody, including the government, can take it from you. Prepare now for a day when either the government, tax people, or some lawyer with a lawsuit comes after you. If you don't, you could lose everything. There are several ways to hide your money. The easiest way is to put cash in plastic containers and bury them in your garage or some other safe place if you own property. If the IRS ever does a search warrant on your place, they're onto all the regular tricks about hiding cash, but houses are big. You can hide money behind walls, in closets, in a component like an old desktop PC, in an old car, in your garage, etc. Hiding money in a house has risks. Somebody can find it. The house can burn down. Cops have currency dogs who can smell out money on a search warrant. People take money to foreign countries, which is not hard to do provided you take under $10,000 if you are leaving your home country, because if you try to leave with over $10,000 cash without reporting it, if they catch you, they'll fine you and could seize some of it. It's easy to open a bank account in Mexico or in most countries. American citizens get on cruise ships from Florida to the Caribbean or California to Mexico. There is not as much security or scrutiny here as there is at airports. If you want to hide some money, take a 3-day cruise to a safe Caribbean island, bring cash, and open a bank account. It used to be easy for Canadians and Americans to open bank accounts in each other's countries. I know a guy who became an Amazon seller from Canada and used that as proof he was doing business in the United States, so he was able to open a bank account in the US. There are activists around talking about free business enterprise without taxation. Every year they have the Anarchist Conference in Acapulco. You can start at vigilante.tv or dollarvigilante.com. futuremoneytrends.com. Bill Still Money Masters. thstillreport.com. https://archive.org/details/David the biggest secret _202011. https://dn790001.ca archive.org/022208119_didn't%2017_they_teach_me_this_school_99_personal_money_management.pdf